So this morning I was going to go over our sound one more time. I know we did this before, but it's good to review. And how to get them to stop when you're playing them on your E-pad, right? And then they hit the home button. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. And then the app kind of goes in the background, right? But what happens to the sound? It keeps playing. That's a bug. We need to fix it. And we almost fixed it last time. We were just doing one thing wrong. We were just publishing it the wrong way. That's why it couldn't find that library. So I thought we could just review and then do it and then put our code back the way it was. And then we can test it again on the E-pads, and it should stop playing the sound when we push that home button and lose focus. Okay? All right. So remember when we made our sound, how do we make our sounds? We dragged them into our library, and Flash knew that they were sound objects, so we made them into objects. So for example, on this code here, they just made a drum sound. So they made, instantiated and created a drum sound. Now to get it to stop playing, we have to keep track of that sound. Okay? So that's why we have to make a sound channel. The channel is what we're going to flip on and flip off. Okay, so the sound channel connects to the sound object, because when we tell the sound object to play, it actually returns, this method here, play returns a sound channel. And that's what we're storing here. We're saying, okay, new sound channel, you equal the sound channel that comes back when I hit play here. So then we can keep track of that sound channel. Okay? And when we keep track of that sound channel, then we can use some code like this. So I gave you guys this link too. This was on Stack Overflow. And the question on Stack Overflow was the same question we had. They had an AS3 Android application that's playing background music, but when the user leaves the application, the music still is playing in the background. So I thought, oh, okay, cool. Here's some code that we can use. Remember, always look for code. We love the internet. When you're a programmer, why reinvent the wheel? Always look for what you're looking for on the internet first. So ask your question of Google, and it's getting better and better answering questions because of forums like this, like Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow I go to a lot. It's a great place to go. All right. So another helpful programmer said, okay, yes, you have to use the native application class. We know it's a class type because it's capital letters, right? And in that native application class, there is a property called native application. And we're going to add an event listener to that property. I know he's a property because there's no parentheses here, and he's lowercase. Okay. We're going to add event listener to him, and the event is in the event class, and it's going to be the deactivate event. So when we lose focus in our app, it's called deactivating, and it throws this event. Then, of course, you have a method to handle that event. They called it handle deactivate. So they created the handle deactivate function. It looks just like our other listener functions. We should be experts at this by now, right? What our listener functions look like. They're always the same name. They always have the word function. They always have the event that it was listening for. This one happens to return void. Most of them return void. And then all we have to do is if we have that sound channel, we'll just tell it to stop. Yay. Okay. Now, when they want to listen to it again, so when they come back to the app, let's say they come back to the app, we want the music to start playing again. So there is another event listener called activate. Okay? And in the activate event, when it's fired, we can listen for it. So that same property, native application, is going to listen for this event, activate. It's going to call the handle activate method. And in the handle activate method, all we have to do is tell it to play again. And I know we tried this last time, but you know what we were doing wrong? I already told you what we were doing. We were publishing for desktop, and so it wasn't finding the library. Once you change the publish settings to air, it finds this library fine. So my bad on not realizing that. I thought it was just something wrong with our computers, but no. We just had to have our publish settings set for mobile or air, and then it finds this library fine. When you have it set to publish to a Swift file, it doesn't need or have this class as part of its library. And so you'll have to comment it out when you're publishing for a Swift, and then you comment it in when you're publishing for air or mobile to make your APKs. Okay? So I gave you guys the link to this so you wouldn't have to type it. So if you go to that class assignment, go to our directions, there is a link for it, or you can just type into Google. What did I type in? Remember, whenever you're searching for action script stuff, always start with the key term AS3. That's our key term. And then I put turn off sound when leave app. Google's pretty smart about figuring stuff out like this by now. They use the artificial intelligence algorithms now a lot. And so they're getting better and better. So if you Google for it, it's the first one. Okay, so you can copy and paste this code. All right. So when you copy and paste this code, here's where we're going to add it. So you're going to have to put that import statement. The native application class is in the desktop library and the flash library. So you make sure you have that in your code. Okay. And then we have to make a sound channel. Okay, so we need the sound channel to be accessible in 2 functions. So we have to make that sound channel a instance variable. So then we can access the same sound channel and he'll be alive in 2 functions. So remember that we declare him a type sound channel object. You can name him whatever you want. I named him sound channel with a lowercase s. In fact, I just copied that code. Okay. So that's where your instance variables go. I think most people had this written from last time. And then you should know how to instantiate it, right? We should be experts on instantiating things by now. Now remember that we're going to instantiate him, though. We're going to, where is he? So I have my background music. My background music is going to play. This tells it to play 100 times. So repeat or loop 100 times. And remember that this function call, the function call to play, actually returns the sound channel. And we're going to place that return sound channel in our sound channel object. Okay, so that way we're going to keep track of that sound channel. All right, so we added the import, the declaration, and then this is actually our instantiation. We instantiate it to what this guy returns. Everybody get that stuff? All right. Now we just need to add those 2 event listeners. And you can copy and paste these. So notice I copied and pasted it right from that website. That was the deactivate listener event that we're listening for. And notice that I'm listening for it right inside of my constructor. It's fine to put that listener right in your constructor. Okay. And then I need to put that method in here. Oh, I need to get my method. So I'm going to go over to Stack Overflow. I'm going to go ahead and copy all the rest of this code because I need the rest. Last time I only copied that first line. Remember, I'm going to have to put this event listener inside of my constructor too, but I'm going to copy it all at once. All right. So I'm going to come over here to my code. I'm going to take this line of code and put it up here with my event listeners. So I have my 2 event listeners listening for the activate and deactivate events. And then I have my 2 functions to handle those 2 events. And remember to be nice and neat about things and try to properly align your code. Now, I named mine sound channel, not music channel, so I do need to change the name of this. And then right here, I need to change this guy because I don't have a my song. I do have a background music. So I'm going to take this guy again and put it down here. I'm going to save it. Now remember, now you could either save this as version mobile, so I could do a file save as and call this my version mobile. That would be a good idea. Or I just comment out and comment in it as I want to compile to a Swift. Because when I'm compiling to a Swift, I will get the error that it doesn't know what native application library is when you're publishing for a Swift. Remember that. You have to remember that. That's what we did wrong last time, right? So, but when you're compiling for Air for Android, it does know what the native application library is, and it will compile just fine, and it will work, which is pretty awesome. We're getting these release ready, right? All right. In fact, you can go to File, Save As. A lot of times people will save, your desktop version and your mobile version. And I could call this Whack-A-Mole Mobile. And that way I have another copy. And then my old copy without the native application stuff, right? Now the only thing is, if I change this to Whack-A-Mole Mobile, what do I have to change in my flaw file? Remember, this is how it connects. So I have to change it to _ mobile over here. Okay? So muy importante. And to make sure it's connecting right, I hit the pencil icon. Make sure it connects right. Always double check. Okay? All right. Now I can go into my File, Publish Settings. Remember that you change your target for Air for 3.2 for Android. Actually, you could actually do 3.4. It's fine. And then remember how to publish for Air for Android. We should be pretty good at this now. You hit that wrench icon. Tell it full screen because that's the way we programmed our app. We can lock it into full screen so it doesn't change. We can also tell it landscape because we made it landscape. And you can even use the GPU if you wanted. Remember, in your deployment, you have to have that certificate. And if you don't remember your password, just make a new certificate. I always use the same password, test, T-E-S-T. It's easy to remember. Now, you remember how we were reading last time how to make a device release app and how it compresses it? I don't know if you guys read the links I gave you. You're kind of supposed to read those. It was a lot, but Flash does all the device release stuff for us, which is pretty convenient and nice. So when you're ready to release, just make sure that button, we've already just left that button, device release. But that makes it a smaller file. Do you remember how big your file had to be under? Yeah, 100 megabytes, right? In order to release it to the Google Play Store with no problems. Remember, if you needed more space than that, they allow you to have more space than that, but then you have to apply, right, for more space. All right. You could embed the Air runtime. We haven't done that. It does make your file a lot larger. We always just say get Air runtime. And remember, if their phone doesn't have Air runtime, then it'll ask them to get it. I think a couple people's phones asked them to get it, but once they install it, they don't have to install it again. Okay? All right. Remember that I told you you needed to have your icons, especially if you're going to release this thing. You definitely want to have your icons in there. Okay? And you could hit publish. I noticed it said the Swift file had errors. I could even uncheck the Swift one. Over here, maybe. No, it won't let me, but that's okay. Now, you know why the Swift one had errors? Because the native application failed. But our APK was created successfully. Didn't it say that? It should have created our APK successfully. So if I go to Publish Settings, hit my Publish button, and then he's cool. So I wanted to make sure everybody got it working on the ePad today. Oh well, it's still publishing correctly. And we can see that when we go and look at my files. Remember, you can find your APK, so this is how you're going to upload it to the ePad. I think everybody remembers this. Here is my APK right there. Actually, did he compile to an APK? We need to be able to uncheck this. Hopefully your guys' has worked. You guys' has worked, right? Or did it fail too? It's the Swift that's failing because of the native application thing. My minus button isn't working. Oh, I know what I did wrong. You know how I changed the name of it? If you change the name of your file, remember that your this guy has to change. Remember, your class name always has to match your file name, and your file name always has to match your constructor. That was a silly mistake. I was like, oh, and I thought it was the Swift file having problems, but yeah. So remember that if you did like me and you did a file save as and you changed that name, you always have to have your class name match your file name, and then your constructor always match your class name. Just those two things there. And save it. And now he should be good. Okay, there's our publishing thing. That's the one we were looking for. Yay, APK package was packaged successfully. Now I can upload it to my ePad, and when it loses focus, or I push that home button, my sound will turn off, and when they come back to the game, my sound will start again. Okay? And it always gives me this warning. Remember, warnings don't stop you from publishing. It just says I didn't specify my permission requirements because I didn't access any of these things. So that's okay. All right. I'm going to pause this guy.